Notice this is not a paid advertisement or a solicitation for the following product. I'm merely sharing this product because I discovered it on my own and find it useful. I hope after sharing that you might find it useful as well. Well, hello, the B3 Burner, and what I have for you today is a discussion about a relatively new piece of gear that I bought off of Amazon, and it is called the Wizgear. Can't find the name right now. Wizgear. And what it is designed to be is like an extension arm to use as a caddy to connect your cell phone to the front windshield of your car. And most people use it for their Google Maps so they can use their iPhone as a GPS or any cell phone as a GPS. My intended use is to use it like a poor man's GoPro, to connect my cell phone to the window so that I can do video recordings of me driving my car. Sometimes I might want to attach it to the front windshield facing out, sometimes I might want to attach it to the front windshield facing me, or sometimes I might want to attach it to the rear side window facing forward so you can see over my shoulder and see the road ahead of me and around the car. So this is going to enable me to do that. Now, let me show you how this works. It's got a powerful suction cup. You tear away this plastic, mount it, and there's a little toggle switch that when you pull it back increases the suction and locks it into place. It's not going anywhere. On this end is a very powerful magnet that you attach the cell phone to. How do you attach a cell phone to a magnet? You're given a thin little piece of metal that you can hide between the back of the phone and the cell phone case, or it comes with a paper glue strip that you can glue it to the back of the phone if you want, and it just snaps right to the magnet, and there it is, it's in place. So beside where the phone attaches to the magnet and the suction cup attaches to the window, you have two other pivot controls. This one allows the arm to swing up and down. Now, unfortunately, and I'll discuss it a little bit later, it allows it to pivot on a straight line, but it doesn't allow it to twist in like a yaw position. So this has some limitation. I'm going to discuss with you what that is. Where the magnet attaches to the other side of the arm is on a ball and socket, and it has a certain amount of rotation, and you can loosen it up and then tighten it when you've got it where you want it. And I won't go any further. Okay, so I had to wait till my girlfriend got home and use her camera for the recording, her cell phone, so that I could use my cell phone as the dummy prop. So if you look real closely, right sticking out in front of the Apple icon on the back of the cell phone is a little strip of yellow. That's where the metal is. And the magnet is so powerful that even through the rubber case, it just clicks on like that. And I mean, it's not going anywhere. I mean, you really have to put some oomph to it to get that off. So between a very strong suction cup and a very strong magnet, this is not going anywhere. So, in theoretical use, let us pretend that my arm is the windshield and this is the inside. So you want to set up your phone to use as a GPS. First you would angle that down. So that's lined up with the windshield surface the way you want. And then you would pivot this however you want. A lot of people would probably prefer to use their map programs in portrait mode as opposed to landscape. It's entirely up to you. When I videotape, I prefer to be in landscape, but if I were using it as a map program, I'd probably want it vertical. This might be exactly how you would mount it, maybe slightly lower, to the right of the steering wheel, center of the windshield, to reach over with your right hand. Technically, the police or the highway patrol say that the only legal place to put window devices is on the left side of the steering wheel, on the nearest to the left A pillar, the driver's side of the windshield. But I've seen a lot of people put it in the center, and so long as it isn't in direct obstruction, most police don't really care. Guess it depends what municipality you're in and who's being picky at the moment. Okay, so now that you got the basic gist of how this works, as I just demonstrated to you sitting here, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how it attaches to the car for my specific uses, and I'll give you examples of recordings I took with it in each position and how we went from there. So let me first show you a standard view out the front window if I were to use and I'll show you this later on to do a separate video on my heads-up display video system with the compass and the speedometer indicator on the screen. That has to be shot with the camera facing, the external camera facing out, the non-selfie camera. So here's the suction cup. Got to give it a little bit more angle. Put that down, bring it in, stick it. Apparently didn't push hard enough. Oh, you got to take the protective plastic layer off. This is very sticky, but in order to protect the stickiness so it doesn't wear away, you want to keep the piece of plastic that comes with the kit so that the stickum doesn't wear out. Stick it, attach it, lock it in with the toggle switch. It's in there real good. Then with the ball and socket, you could theoretically make little adjustments. Actually, even with the ball and socket tight, this will adjust itself. There we go, I turn it on. There's my front screen. Go to my camera, go to video, and I'm ready to start recording while I drive. Now that's one scenario. So this is obviously an instance of the forward-facing camera attached to the windshield facing outward. Now in this case there is a little bit of bumpiness that is not to be blamed on the arm, the Wizgear arm itself. That's a combination of maybe the car's suspension being a little too tight in combination with the fact that I very well might not have secured the Wizgear arm as good as I could have, which I would later learn to do when I got the Ford Crown Victoria. Now scenario number 2. We want to do a GoPro style shot taken from the right front corner of the car, the passenger side A-pillar facing toward the driver. Okay, well, for that, I'm going to have to use the inward-facing camera, the selfie camera facing back at me. This is just a rough estimation. And that's not working too well. Let's bend it away a little bit, maybe a notch or two. Push it, lock it, not going anywhere. Bend it, right? I'd open it up, start recording and playing. Mount one of my wide angle lenses, because just the stock lens is not going to show a view of the road going by and what's surrounding the car, and half the magic of those special views like GoPro style views while driving a car is that it's a wide enough angle that you can see everything. And then I would mosey on over to the driver's seat, and you'd be able to see me while I'm driving. And that's how that works. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, when you're pulling the suction cup away from the glass, it's on there very tight. So you're not going to be able to get your finger nail up and under between the suction cup and the glass. So you use this tab that they provide to pull it back and slowly peel it off. Don't force it because you don't want to rip the rubber suction cup or put a tear in it. But just pull it away slowly and it will eventually give. Oh boy, and now thirdly, probably one of the biggest challenges of all, mounting the camera to the rear side window to get an over-the-shoulder headrest shot of the front of the car or over the right shoulder of the driver facing forward, where you can see through the windshield and over the back of the driver at the same time. And that's where GoPros really come in handy. But I don't have $300 to spend on a GoPro. So I have to take what I've already spent on an iPhone, which is not cheap by any stretch of the imagination, and be imaginative and creative, combined with wide-angle lenses, optical wide-angle lenses in this. How do I make myself, through a combination of things, a poor man's GoPro? Now, again, because of this setup, if I was mounting it to the front window, it would be a no-brainer that I'm using the external camera lens facing out. In this case, I'm going to have to use the selfie lens facing back toward me because of the way I'm recording this. So, the first thing you need to realize is this is going to be really awkward and you have to play with it until you get it just right. So the first thing you're going to want to do is figure out, get it lined up perfectly, figure out where you're going to want to mount the suction cup that allows the arm to come up at a decent enough angle that you can get plenty of height and still keep the camera vertical. Where the ball and socket is, where it pivots is easy because you have 360 degrees of rotation. The part that's tough is where the arm meets the suction cup because you have swing and pivot with the screw down mechanism, but you have swing, but you don't have pivot. All right, so I'm gonna mount it up to the top of the rear window, lock it in place using the toggle switch, and you gotta push really firm, lock it in place, it'll stay. Now bend this down. And I don't know how well you can see it. I'm gonna try to move this over ever so gingerly. Now, you turn on the camera. Okay, there we go. Now, it thinks I want to use the outside camera, but I don't want to film out the back window of the car. So now I'm going to flip it around so it's facing the selfie direction. And now, if you have a close look at this, you can see that it's facing forward, and there's the steering wheel and there's the front windshield and what have you. And now it's doing what we want it to do. But in and of itself, it's not easy to set up at first. You gotta really experiment with it. And when you are done, that is what it should look like. All right, I don't know if this is going to make sense, but one caveat about shooting from a side window or a rear window facing forward, anything other than the front windshield facing forward, because this really is designed to be used as a cell phone caddy attached to the front windshield. It's not designed to be used in place of a GoPro or an attachment for a camera to the window. I'm using it that way for my own purposes. Because of the orientation and the way this is designed, you are forced to use the cell phone in the screen side or the selfie direction. There is no way attached here, no matter how hard you try, to pivot this ball around so that the back of the camera, I mean, you can try every which way you want. You are not going to be able to, you can peel this, you can take this off. You cannot contort this in any particular direction that's going to allow the back of the camera to face this way. Because if you were able to, then how's the suction cup gonna face the window? You see what I'm saying? And the suction cup won't stick to the armrest, stick to the headrest. That's ridiculous. Where does that run into a problem? When you have a special app that you have a video app that only uses the outside facing camera, and it will not allow you to switch to the internal selfie camera, such as my heads-up display video app that displays compass direction, altitude, geographic location, and speed. And that's a nice app to be able to use, and I'd like to be able to use it for my over-the-shoulder shots from the rear side window of the car, but I cannot do that. So that particular app will only be able to be used from the first position I showed you, the standard classic attached to the front windshield facing out. So that's the only caveat with that. Other than that, this is a pretty good system. And like I said, for pennies on the dollar, compared to paying $300 or $400 for a GoPro system, not a bad deal, not too shabby. So to sum it up, some of the pros I see are, 1, the price. At about $25 for what it is, you can't really beat that. 2, it's easy to use, and with the twist of a few buttons and knobs, you're all set and ready to go. 3, it's great for its primary purpose, which is to mount it to the console of the dashboard or the windshield, specifically for looking at the screen as a map interface. 4, if you're creative and skilled, as I've displayed here, and can think outside the box, it can be used as a poor man's GoPro and mounted in various places around the car to get numerous screenshots. However, some of the cons I see are, 1, the flexibility is limited as the arm and pivot mechanism can be turned in various directions for some creativity, but you can't get too carried away from its intended use. 2, the arm will not allow you to use the forward-facing camera from the rear or side windows. And 3, it's not really designed to act as a GoPro mount. Though in defense of the manufacturer and the product, again, let me remind you that its number one use is as a cell phone caddy for driver display and not as a camera mount for multiple angled shots. That was my intended use and should not reflect negatively on a pure product review. Well, that wraps up this look at the Wizgear Cell Phone Mount. I'm B3 Burner saying so long for now.